You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub is your neighborhood pub in the heart of the Glebe. Visit them for great food, great people, and great drinks. Also, the Send Shuttle, $17 round trip, takes you from 779 Bank Street to the CTC and back. Let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and I can see from that smirk on Pilsy's face, he's happy that I'm here breaking down a disheartening 6-4 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, Ross, I'm glad you're driving the bus on this one because I got pretty sick of whatever highway I've been stuck on whenever it's me and the Leames Martian doing this. But not like this game is any better because I didn't really think there was a chance here. Like when the Sens got that first goal leading off the game, I thought, okay, maybe this game won't be as bad as I thought. And then it didn't take long. That second period was abysmal. Like it was just awful. And the Tampa Bay Lightning get up to a lead. And even though the Sens, like you put in the title, Ross, final score masks uninspired, disorganized effort, this game was out of reach. Like the goals, that's nice cookies for those players. Brady gets a little bit to chirp back at the Tampa bench, but ultimately Tampa gets the last laugh here in a 6-4 win.
Chirping at the bench and then giving up a goal, not seconds later.
Before your goal is announced by the PA announcer, that's Ross. You love being on the other side of that, but then when that happens to the Sens, that is tough.
How many momentum goals tonight, Pilsy? Basically at the end of the first, I think it was 2:50 left in the first period. Then they get scored on in the first minute of that second period. And then again, they finally bring it to within two. They had all the momentum. I don't know what took more life out of this building because there was a ton of momentum in the third period. Was it the too many men on the ice penalty, or was it that Brady Tkachuk goal that then they score seconds later?
I'm going to go with the goal scored right after Brady Tkachuk because that could have been a big moment to rally around, especially, Ross, we talked about it. Brady's got to find a way to not get looped into all these fights to defend his honor. And it's not like Tanner Jeannot is a total scrub, but you're still like, that's not Kucherov, that's not Point, that's not Stamkos. Brady is one of the top players on this team. You can't let Tanner Jeannot bait you into taking a fighting major. So he says, I'm not doing it this time. And then he scores on the power play, gives Jeannot the death stare from all the way across the rink. But you got about, 10, 15 seconds of glory as Tampa scores almost immediately after.
Glory? They're still down 2 goals in the third period. They never made
at least for Brady, personal. Like that was him being like, I was smart enough not to fight you and I made you pay, but I don't get to relish in that very long.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The Senators get a far too familiar result this season where the score is, affected by the end of the game, garbage time. It's 6-4 on the scoreboard, but I think the shot totals and the advanced numbers will do more to tell this story. Tampa Bay outshoots Ottawa 37-28. Each team gets a power play goal. Tampa on 3 opportunities. Ottawa had 4. Tampa wins 55% of the faceoffs. Tampa controls 58% of the shot share at 5-on-5, and Tampa outhits Ottawa 24-16. This is a goalie-friendly show. And tonight, Ottawa decided to make a goaltending change after the 3-1 goal. What was your thoughts at the timing of that? And how do you find that Korpisalo played in this game?
Well, Ross, I feel like this is a rare turnaround for me. Usually I'm the goalie hugger. Usually Martian is saying, Pilsy, how can you say the goalies didn't play bad? They let in 5 goals here. And usually the chat is giving it to me. But I'm finding it really hard to give the goalies any credit on this one. Like both of them allowed 3 goals. The issue, like Corpy had a nice start. Like that first period, I thought he was feeling it. I thought, okay, he's going to keep this team in the game. But that goal by Braden Point, and yeah, I know Braden Point's a good player, but that's the type of easy goal that you just can't let in. And then the third goal, I'll put that more on the 2 defensemen that get beat there at easily by Eyssimont, but Korpisalo's got to be a little bit more ready for that. I think he just assumed one of those guys was going to get it. Obviously, he hasn't played for the Ottawa Senators very long if he's assuming 2 defenders can stop 1 player on the opponent's team. And I thought maybe it was a little premature, but I think DJ was just like, we got to stop the bleeding as quick as we can here. But ultimately, it doesn't help because Forsberg doesn't have much of a better result here. So for once in the postcast, I'm saying these goalies simply did not have what it takes to help the Ottawa Senators get a win here. They got to be better, both of them.
Yeah, 3 goals on 20 shots. Now, I think I could turn that around and say 20 shots. He played 24 minutes and 57 seconds. Like, what are we doing here? Ottawa, after 2 periods in this game, was outshot 31-16. Double in shots on your home ice in what we declared a must-win game, a divisional game. Now they're 1-3 in the division. They've got Toronto coming up next. They've got Vancouver next week, the hottest team in the National Hockey League outside of the obvious, the Vegases, the Colorados, all that. It's not getting any easier, but they also have 3 days off. And in Postcast After Dark, we will discuss a dark subject, DJ Smith's job. We don't like talking about another man's job. It feels like it's a far too familiar conversation with how things have gone over the last week, month, and so on in this club. But we will have that conversation. I want to see his quotes post game before I really tear into him. But again, the almost poetry, just like we said, having to give up a first round pick and then Dorion gets canned, a bench minor for too many men on the ice. Say what you want. Parker Kelly jumped. He shouldn't have. But it's on the coach. Too many men on the ice penalties are on the coach. So for that to almost be the final exhale of air, of hope out of this building tonight, it almost felt kind of poetic. But we'll save that conversation for a little bit later. I want to get a little bit of comedic relief in the postcast tonight. Austin Watson and Zach McEwen fight in the first period. You can give me your take on the fight, but Austin Watson going into the Sens penalty box was just all-time classic.
Look, how many fights have we seen Austin Watson step into and just get pummeled? Almost all of them. Like there's only a few where Austin Watson came out at a tie or better. Like it didn't happen very often. And then he's going up against Zach McEwen, who, again, don't just take my word for it. Go back to hockeyfights.com and look through Zach McEwen's fights. That's a guy that doesn't win a lot of fights either. So you got 2 guys that don't have very good records here. And Austin Watson takes care of Zach McEwen so easily. And you know what? I hate to say it, but good for Waddy. That's got to feel good for him to get that one in Ottawa and especially beat the wheels off of the guy who was supposed to be his replacement. Well, maybe he didn't beat the wheels off him, but he certainly won that fight. There's no doubt about that. That's kind of embarrassing. And if you're Zach McEwen, you're brought in, you're one of the players that gets the call up in this situation, and this is your time to shine. And you have that kind of showing up against a guy that Sens fans know too well, doesn't win many of his fights. Maybe that's why he only played 4.5 minutes, Ross, because I don't think DJ was too impressed with that one.
No, he was not. Adam Rogers asked, DJ fired in how many games? I'm going to let the chat take over for that when we mention that. We'll get to that later. Appreciate you, Adam. Buck writes in with the stats. Buck is bringing the mathematics to the postcast. And, man, this did not pass the eye test either tonight. Travis Hamonick's game, it's so clear that he's in above where he should be at this stage in his career. I like him as an 11, 12-minute per game defenseman. I think he showed the good of his game tonight, but he also showed the absolute negatives that he brings at this stage. He threw a huge hit behind the net that got the crowd pumped up. He saved a goal with a shot block. Okay, that's all the good I have to say about him. He was out of position all the time. He was ineffective at defending. And the stat, if you're listening to this, Buck writes in that his 4.39 expected goals against per 60 minutes. So that basically means for every 60 minutes he's on the ice, the Ottawa Senators allow 4.39 expected goals. It's the worst in the entire National Hockey League among all defensemen with at least 100 minutes of time on ice. To put him with your young, up-and-coming star defenseman is complete negligence, and it's rubbed off on Jake Sanderson, who himself was bad tonight. Awful pinch on the second goal. Should not be down that low. Makes it a 2-on-1 the other way.
Yeah.
But I can't blame Sanderson when he has to continue to look to his right and have no clue where Hamonick's going to be.
I mean, unfortunately, Ross, they don't have a lot of other options right now. Like maybe you could move.
JBD's played the best hockey I've seen him play in the last 2 games.
Yeah, that's fair. I would just be a little worried about having JBD have back-to-back career highs in ice time. But I mean, not like Travis Hamonic provided a better option. I feel like giving Hamonic an opportunity to play with Sanderson made sense initially because those two played together almost exclusively last season, but it's certainly not looking like it works anymore, especially when they have to be the top pair and Hamonic's got to play this many minutes.
You know what makes absolutely no sense from a coaching perspective, Pilsy?
How much time do we have?
We have more time than Nicholas Matinpalo and Tyler Clevin played tonight. You cannot play an NHL hockey game and have 2 of your 6 defensemen playing under 9 minutes. Under 9 minutes. Like, one, how the heck are they supposed to get into a flow of the game? 2, you are putting way too much pressure on your top 4.
Agreed.
Matinpalo played 6 minutes and 48 seconds tonight. Like, what are we doing?
I don't think he's played. What's his high of ice time? Like, I don't think it's above 8 minutes, is it?
And he hasn't looked. I mean, he's played 2 games, Pills. 2 games coming into tonight. So his time on ice played 8:24 and then 6:55 against LA.
Yeah,
he had 11 shifts against LA, and he had less tonight. That is absurd, and it's bad coaching. It's bad.
Yeah, and especially, Ross, when you look at this decor, and they're already down 3 guys, and Thomas Chabot, and Artem Zub, top 4 guys. So you're looking at those guys, and you're probably thinking, okay, if you're missing all these players, you need to be rolling the lines a lot because you're not going to have that stability and that strength on the back end that you're used to. But DJ Smith is really putting a lot of pressure on this top 4, like you mentioned, and it seems like it's very obvious that Travis Hamonic is out of place in a top 4 spot this year, much more than he was last year. And you're right. It's unfair for Sanderson to already have to feel in his second year pro that he has to be the one that shoulders the entire weight of this team. Look what that did to Thomas Chabot. Thomas Chabot had a similar progression where early on in his career, he was basically forced to have all the responsibility on this decor, and he got overworked in meaningless games, and it didn't work out for him. And that led to him being more injury prone. Also, I'm talking about Chabot here. So this is a dangerous path that DJ Smith is putting on this decor. And look, obviously you can point to the injuries, but Ross, we've said it. You cannot use that as an excuse this year. This team has so much more depth. They have so much more expectations, new owner, everything coming in here. Michael Andlauer is not afraid to cut guys loose when he thinks they need to be held accountable. And there's a certain seat on the Ottawa Senators bench that is getting very warm right now. Very warm.
I mean, it's too little too late. And like, I almost made it the title for the postcast again today, but it's been like 4 games where it's too little too late. Buffalo, they're down 5-1. They make it 6-4. Then the other night, they're down 3-0 to LA. They make it 3-2. You're like, oh, wow. Yeah, if you're just scrolling the scoreboard, you're like, that's respectable. It's not Vancouver, San Jose. It's not 10-1 out here. But it feels like these games are so out of reach that it should be a 5-6 goal gap between them. Like, I don't know. I'm at my patience level 0. It's been 301 games, Pilsy. Like, DJ Smith took over this team pretty much when we started the podcast. Like, since Locked On Senators, we did Making Sense of the Sens. One of our last episodes was DJ Smith getting hired.
Yeah,
we've seen it all, and I'm done. I'm done discussing how he's so like somebody had a great comparison. I know Joel Quenneville. There's a lot of skeletons in the closet, but this is the start of his tenure in Chicago. I didn't realize this. Apparently, Denny Savard or a legend. Savard. People in the chat can let me know if I'm wrong, but I think it's Denny Savard. He was the head coach there in Chicago, and all the players loved him. Apparently, Patrick Kane was like in tears in the press conference when he left and Joel Quenneville was hired, and then the team just took off. How uninspired were the Montreal Canadiens before Marty St. Louis, and then like a Cole Caulfield, and that just takes off. Like, I can almost see, that kind of thing with Tim Stützle, who is just trying to do way too much out there. And it's backfiring. It looks wild. Buck saying Jack Capuano has to go with DJ as well. We'll have that coaching conversation after. You want to have any final thoughts before we get to some Sen Central standouts? Not an easy game to find standouts for, but we will do it here on Locked On Senators.
No, because I want to expand on the coaching thoughts later on. So yeah, let's roll through here.
Today's episode, all postcasts are brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. We love our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. Go visit them, 779 Bank Street. And when you head there, let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. As we speak right now, there's live music at the Glebe Central Pub. The shuttle is probably just pulling into the Glebe Central Pub, 779 Bank Street. And with that, they are bringing some very unhappy people to a happy place. And that's the best way to drown your sorrows after a Senators loss. Go visit them, 779 Bank Street. Head to GlebeCentralPub.com and check out their Send shuttle that is running on Thursday. It's running on Saturday to Canadian opponents. So get your friends, head to the Glebe Central Pub, and head on the Senators shuttle. And go thank them for being a sponsor of the Postcast. We appreciate the Glebe Central Pub, 779 Bank Street, right in the heart of the Glebe.
Today's episode of Postcast is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. You guys are probably wondering, what is Pillsy doing not in his regular podcast studio, rocking a Cincinnati Bengals hat? Well, I am in Cincinnati, Ohio, beautiful Cincinnati, Ohio, because I scored tickets to Sunday night's football game, Bengals versus Bills. And where did I get them? The Game Time app, obviously. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. It wasn't stressful for me. It was easy. And it's not just sports tickets. You can get music, comedy, and theater all near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets and best price guarantee. So stop stressing and get hyped for all the fun you're going to have. Unless you're going to the CTC, maybe not that much hype, unfortunately. But forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You can get tickets to football, Bengals, Houday, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section in the row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect before you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone. So guys, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute ticket prices, lowest prices guaranteed.
Yes, ha ha ha, yes.
Welcome back to the Postcast following a 6-4 Senators loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Pillsy's got the chat all fired up. A lot of Bills fans in the chat, Pillsy. So yeah. I know you guys are gonna have a good one. We've also got the chicken conversation ongoing in the chat. Make sure you join
the chicken conversation. Jeez.
Hey, there's probably one comment for every chicken you have so far over the past week. All right, 6-4 loss. That's why you head to the Postcast after each and every Ottawa Senators game. If you're listening to this on a Sunday, hopefully the page is turned, reset, 3 days off, and I'm calling it right now. That Leafs game's must win. Like we're not.
Ross, we're coming off a must win that they just lost. The Sens are 1-3 in our must win games. What is this, game 10? We've had almost half the games must wins, Ross. I don't know.
Well, I'd like some must wins.
I think I gotta stop. We gotta stop it somewhere. But yes, Battle of Ontario, the Leafs.
Alfie thinks it's must win. He's fired up over there.
I'm sure you can convince me later on in the week it's a must win. But right now, I don't want to talk about the must wins because they've been dreadful.
The Ottawa Senators tonight got some good performances, albeit in garbage time for the most part. Although they did open the scoring for the 7th time in 10 days. Who is your number one Sen Central standout presented by the Glebe Central Pub?
Look, when times are tough, Ross must win, Levitan, absolutely. When times are tough, you need to look towards the leadership. You need to look towards your captain. And sure, still a losing effort, not enough, but I have no issues with Brady Tkachuk's game here. I mean, he gets 2 goals. The first goal, like I mentioned, they're up 1-0. It's a patented Brady Tkachuk goal. He's in front of the net, gets a nice tip on a crispy Matthew Joseph shot. That gets things going. And then he does a great job. You got to commend Brady here because Tanner Jeannot was pissing him off. And he said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Don't do it, Brady. Don't take the penalty. Let's get a power play here. And then he scores a beauty goal where he just whips it and it goes off the bar and in on the power play. And then to cap it off, he has a nice assist to set up Drake Batherson for a breakaway that Batherson buries. He also gets a couple of shots, a couple hits. I'm looking at the stats here. More than a couple shots. 6 shots, 3 hits, plays 21-51. I mean, if there's one thing you can look at from this game, I'm at least proud that Brady Tkachuk is the captain of this team, because it's tough leading a team that's constantly a part of the wrong side of the score sheet, but he at least does it the right way. And I thought this was a classic Brady Tkachuk game and a great effort from the captain.
A lot of quotes coming in on social media about Brady Tkachuk after the game. Not pleased with the fan reaction, chanting for fire DJ Smith, booing them at certain points.
At the end of the game, they got booed off, Ross. That did not sound good. And we know for a fact Michael Andlauer is at this game. So you got to wonder what he's thinking when he's hearing that after this game. Whew.
I've got the exact quote. Shout out to Wayne Scanlon for transcribing this. Whenever you don't win, it's frustrating. And it's frustrating, the constant booing and all the bull that I was going to hit with the train there, but all the bull that kind of comes from the crowd. I understand they're a passionate fan base. I love it. But when you face adversity, you don't turn your back on the guys out there. We're playing hard. I know it's frustrating, but we're not giving up out there. We're fighting until the very end. Thoughts?
I mean, I don't really know what else Brady's supposed to say. Like,
yeah,
I don't have an issue with that personally. Now, obviously, fans probably have a different perspective, but if you're Brady, again, that's the leadership in him. Even when times are tough, he's going to say the right things and act the right way, in my opinion. So, it just sucks. That's a guy that deserves better.
Yeah, he deserves better. There's no question about that, but he has to understand that this team they're losing at home, which is something, at least at last couple of years, their problem was they just couldn't win on the road, but they'd at least show up at home. And tonight, like, there just wasn't enough guys pulling on the rope the right way. And I'm just like, we said we were going to raise the bar for this team this year. That's why I'm not letting them off the hook with injuries. I'm not letting them off the hook. I'm going back to the fact that 4 defensemen played this entire game. Like, that is just unacceptable. That's just not a way to win, especially like this is 2 games in 3 nights. And apparently there's guys who are sick. So if that's the case, you should be rolling 4 lines as much as possible and putting a structure in place that you don't have to worry about who's in it. Like, you look at Vegas is obviously a very like high end example. They've been without Alex Pietrangelo, one of the best defense in the league all season, and they're undefeated.
Injuries have never stopped that team. Like Mark Stone is constantly injured. They have injuries all over the board. They have no issue playing with 3rd and 4th string goalies and having those guys take them all the way to the Cup finals. Like, injuries may be a reason that things are difficult, but they can only be an excuse for so long. Because at that point, like Ross, last year's injuries, that was a valid excuse. You know, you're not ready for, it was like 8 injuries at the end. But then the Senators, they bolster their depth. They bring in AHL veterans. They bring in guys from overseas, Schmeichel, Matingpalo, Clevin's in the mix now. There's so many other options that the injuries, it can be a reason why things are difficult. I'll accept that, but it cannot be an excuse. It can't be leaned on to be like, well, we lost another one, but guys are hurt. You can't have that anymore.
It's growing old. It really is. But back to the Sen Central standouts from a 6-4 loss. I've got Claude Giroux. I think that he led by example out there tonight. I thought he was solid. He was moving around right when they changed the lines up at the start of the 3rd period. Really started to click. I thought that he could have had a couple more assists. That great play where he feathered a cross seam pass to, I believe, Josh Norris backdoor.
It was Joseph. Backdoor.
Joseph, right, exactly. I thought that was a real slick play that they just couldn't finish off, and he was doing everything he could tonight. And I was surprised to see, maybe not surprised, but I was impressed with Claude Giroux's game tonight. And then Mathieu Joseph, we said it, that's our other Sen Central standout tonight. I thought his speed just makes whatever line he's on as good as it can be. So Mathieu Joseph, 1 assist, 2 shots on goal, played over 19 minutes. Which has to be near his season high. I'm going to check that out actually right now. Why don't you rip off what the stats were for Claude Giroux in this game?
Yeah, Claude Giroux had a nice goal, and what a veteran play by Claude Giroux just to be able to get lost in the play. I don't think Tampa was expecting him to kind of slide all the way up and then be wide open for a one-timer. And that's the thing. Like Claude Giroux, I want him ripping the puck more. Like he has one hell of a shot. I mean, he took a slap shot on a breakaway for God's sake. Like this guy can rip it when he wants to. So I want to start seeing some more of that from Claude Giroux. And then you mentioned it, but I'll reference it again. That smart play where he fakes that he's going to pass back to the point for Chychrun, but then he has the hockey IQ to spot Matthew Joseph on the back door. Not only spot him, but hit him with a nice pass that I don't think Joseph was quite ready for because he can't capitalize on it. And then Claude Giroux doing what he does, doing a great job in the, well, great, maybe is a stretch, but a good job in the face-off dot, 8 for 15, above 50%.
Matthew Joseph's 1904 is the most he's played in either this season or last season for the Ottawa Senators. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
I then looked back and he played more than 1904 in 3 out of the 11 games after he got traded to Ottawa. So at the end of that year, remember, he's with Norris and Tkachuk. He looked good in that short sample size. But yeah, tonight, 1904 looked good, 2 shots on goal and really controlled play while he was out there. So those are Sen Central standouts in tonight's game. Let us know in the comments who else you think deserves some Sen Central standout love. The Senators lose 6-4. We'll have plenty more on this game on Mondays. Locked On Senators. If you are in the chat, stick around. If you're listening to this, then why don't you go home and turn on the YouTube or throw us on in the car, wherever, responsibly or safely, I should say. If you're in the car, don't be staring at the screen. I know Pillsy's big B on his forehead. B for Brandon is right in front of you, but we got some After Dark coming next, so stay tuned for that. It's a 6-4 loss for Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another disappointing edition of the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. All right, Postcast After Dark. My goodness. What another disappointing effort by the Ottawa Senators. And I'm seeing all these quotes coming in from players. Tim Stützle going to bat for his head coach as well. But what else are they going to say, man? He's obviously a very well-liked coach. He's been, nothing but great when it comes to, how he approaches, whether it's, fundraising situations. He just seems like an all-around good guy. Okay, I guess that's how I'll put it. But at the end of the day, when a team hasn't been able to take a next step, and he's the 7th longest head coach serving in the National Hockey League right now, of course, everyone's going to look at him. It's almost like tonight, the Ottawa Senators pulled Joonas Korpisalo. It's easy to pull one person than it is to pull 18 skaters that weren't doing anything out there either. And it almost feels that way right now. It's like they've made other changes. DJ was obviously a Pierre Dorion guy. Just feels like it's, I hope he lands on his feet. And I saw some rumors today that apparently they had offered him they might offer him a different role in the organization. I think that would be pretty awkward, but
yeah, you don't do that.
But I don't think he's getting another head coaching job right away either. Like there's no secret, I don't think, that over the last couple of years, he's been if not bottom 3 highest paid coaches. Sorry, I should say he's one of the lowest paid coaches in the National Hockey League. They got him with 0 games experience. He's now at 300. And it's like, okay, are we rolling? There's teams that are so much better than Ottawa who are talking about firing their coach. And it just feels like Ottawa, for some reason, it's like, if you talk about it, it's all of a sudden like, oh, come on, he's trying. And it's like, you only try for so much. This is a results-oriented business. And being a good guy can only get you so far.
Well, it seems, Ross, like Elliot Friedman and Darren Dreger have really been talking up DJ Smith lately here. And I think there's a lot more respect around the league than Sens fans maybe think. Again, this is not me saying this. Is me going off.
Because they love going up against Ottawa.
Yeah.
Points.
Yeah. I mean, fair. The thoughts I wanted to expand on that we can get into now is, yeah, we've heard it. The players, they still like DJ. They still want to give him a good effort. They still back him in the media, et cetera, et cetera. But at some point, when you're an adult in the workforce and it's a results-driven business like you talked about, you don't get to have things that you like if you don't earn them. And at some point, it's going to have to be like, we know you like DJ. We know that maybe his voice hasn't run dry in the locker room or anything like that. But you're past the point of deserving that right to have a coach that you want because you're not getting the wins. And at some point, unfortunately, the fun uncle, DJ Smith, is going to have to go because it's not getting the job done here. And like, how long is Brady Tkachuk just going to be a captain that leads a losing team for? It can't go on much longer. And look, I want the players to like the coach they have, but liking your coach is not the top priority for a hockey team. The top priority is finding a coach that gets the best out of his players, motivates them the best way, and is able to come up with systems and structure that wins hockey games. And unfortunately, DJ Smith, for whatever reason you want to say in the chat, guys, everyone's got different opinions, and that's fine. Whatever reasons you want to use, he hasn't been able to get it done, and they're going to have to bring in someone new that maybe the Sens players don't like, and maybe the Sens players will be emotional if DJ Smith is let go or fired here. But about time we see some emotion, and about time there's a clean break here, because enough is enough. This DJ Smith was the right coach for the rebuild. I've said it. I'll say it again. I think he was the right guy, but the rebuild should be over. It doesn't feel like it, but it should be over. And the players are going to have to accept some sort of action and responsibility here, because ultimately it sucks being a player. And you hear from players all the time. They're so disappointed when a coach is let go, because they end up saying, this wasn't his fault. Like, we should have played better for him. Like, this is on us, et cetera, et cetera. Well, at some point, you're going to have to accept that responsibility, because I'm sure DJ Smith doesn't want to be shown the door here. He's a guy that cares about these players, and he's made it clear, and he's been here a long time. He's put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into coaching this team, but it hasn't worked out, and you got to stop the bleeding eventually. And Michael Andlauer seems like the type of guy who assesses the situation and makes calculated decisions, but I don't think he's going to sit on this too long, Ross. And I think we're going to start hearing the rumor mill churn a little bit more when it comes to DJ Smith's seat getting warm, because the fans are making it very clear at the games in front of Michael Andlauer himself that they're done with this experience.
And we had let's call him a source for now, who is sitting very closely to Michael Andlauer, let's say nearly within earshot tonight. And it was not a fun night for him. Let's put it that way. For Michael Andlauer, he was, living and dying with every play. And that's what you want for an owner. Like, you love that, but you got to think he's seeing the same thing that the fans are. He's hearing the same things that the fans are. And it's just frustrating, because especially like DJ Smith, I keep going back to it. He seems like a great guy. This
is been a guest on our show, Ross, and we appreciated him, and he does seem genuinely like a great guy. I don't think there's any arguing that, honestly.
No, there really isn't. And people are, that was a great breakdown, Pills. I don't even feel like I need to add that much anything to it. I feel the same way, and it's just frustrating. But now let's turn the page and let's see who would be that person then. Like, we've heard the short list. It sounds like Claude Julien could be on it. What I like about Claude Julien is that he's been scouting for the St. Louis Blues over the last couple of years as a pro scout in Ottawa. He's been to the CTC many times. I'm sure that he's daydreamed about how he would coach this team. A guy with a Stanley Cup under his belt and plenty of experience. Then you look at a different direction. This is personally the direction that I would hope they go. And that's Patrick Roy, a guy who his reputation precedes him. He's got a Hall of Fame pedigree. Clearly, defense is going to be the calling card of any Patrick Roy team. And it just feels like he's the type of fiery competitor. Like, Ottawa got that, and maybe this is, look, we don't get a 24/7 view of the bench, but don't you think DJ's like, he's not as like emotional on the bench? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Ottawa needs someone who's going to, like, how many times, and maybe it's not emotion per se, but how many times is John Cooper calling the refs over, lawyering it up with them, planting seeds? Hey, this was that. I never see DJ do it. I never, ever see him getting into it with the referees or pleading his case. It feels like he just accepts it as, it's a bad bounce. It's a bad bounce. We didn't get the bounces tonight. And I mean, I don't think Patrick Waugh would say. I also don't think Patrick Waugh is going to be the same Patrick Waugh in 2014 trying to fight Bruce Boudreau in his first game. I don't think that's
I
what
don't
you're
mind that.
But there's going to be a level of respect if Patrick Waugh is brought in. And one thing I'll say, if there's a completely new coaching staff, I would be shocked if Daniel Alfredson is not on the bench game in, game out.
And Ross, like Patrick Waugh already, like in his first year as a coach, he won the Jack Adams. Like this is a guy that can get results. Now, I don't quite remember, and maybe our friends over at Locked On Avs could fill us in a little bit better. I don't remember what the fallout was. I believe it was something to do with him and Joe Sakic. Things just didn't quite work out.
From what I'm led to believe, and of course this is just rumors, but he wanted more of a say in hockey operations.
Yeah. Which I mean is fair if he feels like he's earned that right. I mean, he won Coach of the Year in his first crack at it. Like that's Patrick Waugh is the guy for me. I want someone that is a little younger than Claude Julien. I think Patrick Waugh, he's still been coaching in the QMJHL for a long time now, so it's not like he's out of practice here.
He just stepped down after winning the Memorial Cup, the Canadian Hockey League's #1 team, to pursue an NHL opportunity. He didn't say that it's going to happen right away, but he wants a coach. I believe he would be. And also worth noting, he interviewed for the Senators job when they decided to go with DJ Smith.
Yeah, I remember that well. I really feel like Patrick Waugh would be the guy. I feel like he would have that mix of fiery passion and accountability while also being a player that played a long career and understands the inner workings of a locker room and knows how to manage it. And look, I've always said this, Ross, I believe you have too, is goalies. I mean, hey, look at us, both former goalies, #goalie friendly show. They understand and think the game in such a different way than anyone else because they've got the best seats in the house. They're seeing the whole game, or they're on the bench and they're watching everything that happens. Like it's really a position where you get a kind of broader view than just a forward or a defenseman might have, or just someone who's been a coach their entire career. So I love the idea of Patrick Waugh. You throw in the French aspect of it as well. That's another bonus there. And I really hope that's what happens here, Ross, because something has to change here. Something has to change.
Something has to change because you can't keep doing the same thing night in, night out. The Ottawa Senators have lost 5 of their last 6 games. That's why I don't think we're overreacting. This isn't like, oh.
And the game they won, Ross, was against the only team worse than them in the Eastern Conference. That's it.
I don't know. Like, how would you power rank what the biggest issues are with this team right now? Like, what are your top 3 concerns with this team right now, the way they're playing?
The momentum goals are the top one for me, Ross, because just when it seems like they're about to get back into it, they take the foot off the gas for a minute or two, and then it all crumbles beneath them. And then they make a nice push back, but they're too far behind at that point, and it doesn't even matter. So for me, it's going to be the momentum goals. And I mean, obviously, when you're letting in as many goals as the Ottawa Senators are, the defensive structure has to change. Now, again, I understand half the decor is missing here. You're asking guys like JBD. I was about to say Clevin and Martin Pala, but those guys haven't had the opportunity to step up. They're playing under 10 minutes a game each game. So I'm not going to put blame on those guys, and I'm not putting blame on JBD either. But it's just you're asking too much of guys that aren't able to give you what you need. And this Senators team had enough issues with defensive structure in the small sample size we got to see this new era of decor anyways at the start of the season here. So yeah, the top 2 for me are the momentum goals and the defensive structures, because this is the first time really where I've fully harped on the goaltending. I mean, the Buffalo game, Anton Forsberg didn't have a great game there either, but it's just too easy for other teams to capitalize on their opportunities up against the Sens.
It seems that way. And Pamo says it's not all DJ's fault. I blame the players on the ice mostly. Which players to you? And Pamo, I want to hear your answer in the chat as well. which players have the most left to give that you think are underperforming through 10 games? We're at a nice even number of the season, Pilsy.
I don't like doing this, but
It's after dark, buddy. It's after dark.
Yeah. The first name that comes to mind to me, and it's ironic because he got a beauty goal in this game, is Drake Batherson. I mean,
garbage time goal.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's an opportunity. You're given a great pass by Brady Tkachuk and you're in all alone. You better score that goal up against Jonas Johansson. If you don't, we're asking bigger questions. But just the issue is, and Ross, you and I know this better than anyone else, when Drake Batherson was coming up through Belleville, sure, his offense was incredible. You have to highlight that. But what we loved about him is he was almost as good defensively as he was offensively. That defensive part of his game is gone. It's gone. Like, you don't see that at all. And it's crazy because you would think he would have gotten better defensively as he bulked up. Like, Drake Batherson bulked up considerably when he went from Belleville to the NHL. He's a lot bigger. You would assume he's a lot stronger. And sure, you can talk about the high ankle sprain, but that's so far in the past now. I don't think it's slowing him down. So I'm not going to use that as an excuse anymore. I don't want to do it, but the first player that came to mind for me as a guy that needs to step it up and I don't want to say anchoring this team, but certainly not helping them as much as they should be, is Drake Batherson.
Yeah, it is. And that's one of Pamo's answers. Pamo says Batherson, Norris, but that Norris has an excuse. And Sanderson has been a bit shakier than before. And I would just point to the Artem Zub injury as a very convenient change that has shaken up Sanderson's season. But I also, and Pamo missed the start of the postcast, but I was letting everyone know that second goal was not on Travis Hamonic. He took a shot. Yeah, it got blocked, but he was the one who was still able to get back. And Sanderson was down below the hash marks and he couldn't get back despite being the great skater he is. Jagerpal Productions, hope I'm saying that right, but the ozone entries have just been awful. And the Senators in and of themselves are and this is one of Sen's Burner who's writing in as well, ozone entries, D-zone coverage, and Timmy turnovers are his three things that he thinks a mature coach needs to come in and deal with. But there was a great stat that was shown by Megan Chayka, who just reached out actually with the Sanderson feature. So we're going to get her on the show in the next little while. She's she runs Stathletes, I think is the name of it in particular, but very dialed in with the advanced analytics and showed that only 2 teams in the National Hockey League dumped the puck in more than the Ottawa Senators. And one of them is Detroit, ironically, for everyone saying, oh, DeBrincat can't play dump and chase hockey, goes to Detroit. But then the x-axis was how much you dump in the puck. And the y-axis, this one here, math guy, is how many good shooting, like expected goals that you generate after dumping the puck in. And Ottawa was way below on that one. It's like, because they're even when Gary Galley's calling you out, that's tough. That's tough. He's like, yeah, you can dump the puck in, but they just dump it in and then don't do anything. It's like, here, take it. Here, take it. And then let's defend. It's brutal. And that's why I hate to say it, but like that is coaching.
Big time. Yeah. And I'm just looking. Yeah. This is what I was worried about. I was going to ask you. Yes, Detroit is the other team.
San Jose.
The San Jose Sharks are the only other team in that category.
Jimmy Stu calls it dump and wait.
Yeah.
That deserves one of these, Jimmy.
Big time.
They were dumping it in with 30 seconds left in this game, down 2. Come on.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
So they changed things up in the third period. The line change clearly worked, right? Joseph up with Stützle and Giroux.
Yeah. And Joseph has earned that elevation in the lineup, I think. So, well, you know what? For a guy that we harped on, I had said multiple times, the writing's on the wall, this guy's getting shipped out of here. He's really turned it around. So definitely stick taps to Joseph.
Definitely. But I also have this curiosity. And it worked well last year, so maybe it's nothing. But don't you think, and maybe, like, anyway, small sample size, I know. But I think I want to see, and I already said in the preseason that I wanted to put like a lock and throw away the key, Stützle like a Kachuk Giroux. I want to see Kachuk away from Stützle now.
Okay.
I want to see Stützle with Tarasenko, and for some reason, DJ won't play those two together. just like he wouldn't play Stützle with DeBrincat. It's like he doesn't want to give Stützle a natural goal scorer to play with for some reason. But I also want to see Tkachuk with Norris and Batherson for an extended period of time because we've seen it work in the past, and Norris and Tkachuk have played well together in the past. Pamo mentioned he's like Norris and Batherson need to get going. Tkachuk's leading the team in goals.
Big time.
I think we need to see that trio back in action.
I think to answer your question, why he won't put a goal scorer with Timmy Ross, I think maybe he's trying to entice Timmy to be a goal scorer more himself rather than hold on to the puck for an insane amount of time and try to dangle through a million players just to make a pass that's not going to make it anywhere. I think maybe that's what he's going for. You want to jump in there? No, it's not. It's not working. Yeah, I'm just saying what I think maybe the process is there.
Timmy scored 2 goals this year and one was on an empty net, so it's not working. Give him a goal score.
No, agreed. Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And then Ross, further on that, I really hated the line idea of Kubalik, Norris, and Tarasenko.
Made no sense.
3 shooters that get the puck off their stick insanely quick. Like, who's setting who up there? No one. Like, that line just made no sense to me. I hated that line. So, yeah, you can't have a line with all shoot first mentality guys and then not put any of those guys on a line with arguably your most talented playmaker in Tim Stützle. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
The Ottawa Senators, who usually post the entirety of their coaching press conferences after the game and their players after the game, posted a 9-second clip of DJ Smith with a link being like, you have to click here to watch more. So I guess we're going to generate some ad revenue for their website to go and watch what DJ has to say after this game. But it's tough times right now for the Ottawa Senators. And we've got people writing in on Twitter asking if we're going to get pissy pillsy tonight. But I think you've been pretty rational in your comments. And Kara makes a great point here. It's like the same story as last year and the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before. Is that 6? Because that's how many years they missed playoffs. But she's saying that this team is legitimately skilled. And I believe it. They are skilled. 100%. But they're not playing skilled. They're playing like a ragtag rebuilding team. Let's dump it in. Let's play hard. I don't want to play hard. I want to play well. I want to win games. Is that too much to ask for?
Unfortunately, for a team that's new mantra is best in class, they get outclassed more often than not.
And the Tampa Bay Lightning are far from the class of the NHL right now. Like, this is not a team that is coming in and dominating. They're a 500 team. And did Ottawa test Johansson? I can't think of one highlight reel save that Johansson made tonight.
No, and I mean, he didn't, just give me a sec to go to the stats here. Ross, Johansson had an 857 save percentage. Like, it's not like this guy stole the show here. He's a guy that's barely been able to make it in the NHL. I mean, I got to give him stick taps for this season. He's having a great season so far here for sure. But like, we had these games circled with a big red marker weeks before the season even started, Ross, being like, here's an opportunity to dunk on a Tampa team that's constantly beating up on the Sens because they're not going to have Vasilevsky. And the only way they're able to do it is when Matt Tompkins is in net here, a guy that's lost 2 of his games that he's played.
And having us in the building.
Yeah, well, and I should mention no Steven Stamkos. But
you might have to go on Wednesday. Like, we might have to find a way to get to the game on Wednesday.
Well, that's in Toronto, though.
I know.
Our road record is small sample size.
Yeah, but together.
No, but even together, we've only been to what?
2?
Winnipeg, and that's it.
We didn't go to one in Toronto together?
I don't think so. We couldn't afford those tickets back then.
Yeah, fair. We were in the building for that Nathan McKinnon goal in the World Cup, though. That was like a month after we met.
Yeah, Team North America. That was sick.
Yeah, that was sick. Oh, imagine being a Red Wings fan coming into a Sens postgame after they came back and beat Boston, had a sick performance in the third period. Welcome. Make sure to leave 5 stars.
There's Red Wings fans here. I drove through Detroit today, and I asked my buddies in the car, wait, that's Detroit?
And you're in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, undercover, beautiful city so far. I've only been here a couple hours, mind you, but much nicer than Detroit. Like, it's not even close. That place was... I'll leave it there.
Yeah, leave it there for sure. What do you think the chances are we hear Sens news within the next 24 hours? I'd imagine that the team has the day off tomorrow, because why wouldn't they? We don't practice on Sundays.
We don't practice after losses. Who needs practice after a loss?
I'm actually curious. Are the Sens practicing tomorrow? Is going to be a telltale sign. Nope, they're off tomorrow.
Yeah. Of course.
No reason to practice tomorrow. I'm not gonna quote you. I don't need to get more in the mud, but anybody in the comments have any non-coaching questions? Because I think we've both made our points known. And Spearmint, you've never been to River Heights, Tuxedo, or Charleswood. Come by. We'll show you a good time out here in the suburbs of Winnipeg. I can't believe the effort we saw in the first two periods of this game. And Ottawa scored.
Especially the second period. The second period was so bad.
Ottawa scored first, man. I turned to my wife. I said, Stanley Cup is back on. And then she went she went to the room for a second, came back. She's like, wait, why are they losing? So that's a great question.
That's tough, Ross. That's tough.
I know.
Sorry to hear that.
I know. You're telling me, man. Oh, people are still asking for the chickens.
Enough with the chickens, guys.
Let's take a peek through the the box score, and then if there's any questions, we'll get to them. Otherwise, it's a Saturday night. We appreciate everyone being here. It's 11 o'clock at night Eastern. We appreciate all you guys. Jake Sanderson, 2 assists in this game, played 28 minutes and 41 seconds while carrying his partner, Travis Hamonic. Carrying. And I think even that would be probably a nice way of putting it. I still can't get over the fact that Nicholas Matin-Powell played 6 minutes and 48 seconds, and Tyler Clevin was a +1 tonight, which is hilarious as well. 8:59 time on ice. Jacob Bernard-Docker, another decent game from him, over 20 minutes, gets an assist. Nice secondary assist to set up one of the goals there at the end of the third period. Claude Giroux gets a goal. Drake Batherson gets a goal. Brady has a great night. 2 goals, an assist, 3 points, 6 shots, 3 hits. Goats Tanner Jeannot into a penalty and doesn't engage, which was a great kind of learning experience for him. Anything else standing out to you in this game? I mean, Roby again, NHL debut for Roby. Stick taps to Roby. Great block shot on a Victor Hedman clapper. Not everybody's going to be willing to get in front of that. But again, he played 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Like, you really cannot, you just can't have 3 guys playing under 7 minutes, have 2 of them, or 10 minutes, have 2 of them be defensemen, and expect to not be out of gas midway through, or I guess in this case, midway through the game. Yeah,
you can't do it, Ross. You and I are not math guys, and even we can come to that conclusion.
They need Zubak so badly.
Which is pretty telling when you're arguably fourth. No, not arguably. I think it's fair to say you're fourth best defenseman on this team leaves and the whole thing just crumbles. Now, mind you, Shabbat's gone also, but this team is just so fragile. It's so fragile. If things are not perfect, Ross, we got to witness perfect Sens land for 2 days when we were there for the home opener and the Lightning game. And it's like Achilles heel, just one flick and everything crumbles here.
And we thought that we had left them in a good place. They got the
we thought it was okay for us to leave. We're like, okay, we came, we saw, we conquered. Y'all are good. We're going to leave and it's all going to be fine. No, it was not fine.
Well, it was the next game. They won 6-1. We're like, all right, we're good.
Yeah, true. We did think a little of our fairy dust stayed there.
Ferg Murdoch asks, why does Chychrun make such silly silly passes in the D zone. Yeah, he sometimes gets too high in the defensive zone. He comes out and kind of leaves some space, but he's so good in the offensive zone. Tonight, his passes were not to. He might be one of the guys that's sick.
I'll tell you why, because he feels like he has to do it all when he's out there. And that's the thing. The issue is once you start losing games like this, the morale starts going down and down and down. The star player, you could call Chikrin a star player. The higher up players on this team feel like they need to put it on themselves to do everything because the team isn't clicking and working as a unit. So they say, I'm going to go out of my way and I'm going to be the one that fixes this. I'm going to be the one that does it all. And when you do that, you become overwhelmed. You start making rash decisions and you start making mistakes. And then out of desperation, you start trying to clean up those mistakes and you get yourself out of the play and it just becomes a big mess. And then that just snowballs into more guys doing that. Like Timmy is the perfect example of that, right? When things are not going well, Timmy just decides to carry the puck as long as he can. He tries to deke through the entire team to get into the O zone, no matter if he has guys behind him or not. And it turns into brutal turnovers. And then he gets frustrated and then he gets more pissed off and then he tries to do more and it gets worse. And that's what I think is happening here, Ferg, is some of the top players feel like they need to be the savior and they're trying to do too much and it ends up blowing up in their face.
That's a perfect way to put it. Like this team is all kind of doing too much. But how do you do less? It's like the Paul Rudd scene in is it Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where he's like getting up on the surfboard? Do less. Less is more. Do less. No, you're doing too much. But all the Senators look like Jason Segel, where he's like, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. I got to do more.
Yeah.
I gotta do more. But it's not working.
That's accurate. The weather outside is weather.
Batherson, too soft on pucks, getting pushed off at least 5 times a game.
Which is crazy for a guy of his size. Like, isn't he like 6'4", 210? Like,
he's not small.
In
the meantime, I mean, Sens Burner's throwing a 20 down to get the number of chickens, or he's going to cry himself to sleep. It starts with a 5.
Yeah, it's a decent amount of chickens. Drake Batherson, 6'3", 205. Here, how about this? I will show you a picture of me and the chickens just to lighten the mood here.
There you go. That's a good way to put it. Let's get some chicken emojis in the chat. I'm seeing a few. I love it.
Look, there's the chickens.
There's the chickens.
They're having a good time in there.
Rows of chickens.
There's the little guys.
They are.
Little popcorn chirps.
Tweet, 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 tweet.
There's me and my nephew with some chickens. Good Sens fans. I've turned my nephew into a Sens fan, but I'm nervous. He's only 6 years old, and he always has to hear it from his Leafs fan family that the Sens lose. All they do is lose. So if this doesn't turn around quickly, we're going to be in trouble here. But I hope you guys enjoyed those chicken pictures.
Yes, I love it. Those Jimmy Stu says the chicken audio.
Those are crickets.
Those are crickets. Yeah. Pillsy would know. Pillsy would know. I love it. All right. Any final thoughts? We've been going for an hour here, and I need to go listen to this DJ Smith press conference. You
got 9 seconds to spare.
I need to see it, and my goodness, Gatineau Greg has done it again. Go to my most recent tweet and go look at what Gatineau.
That guy is wild. And he is a character to meet in person. Let's just say that.
Character. I tweeted out a photo.
Absolute beauty, though.
You know Dave Chappelle with the crackhead where he's scratching? I said, you got any more of those Zoob we could borrow? There's the conversation about the Sens deco. You see the video.
Oh boy.
Darius, we're not spinning the wheel, dude.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
We're waiting until.
What are we waiting for? This team stinks, man.
But I think that's a part of why we're so gung-ho on like, let's go, let's get this change going, because it feels inevitable over the course of time. It has to be. But at the same time, I don't want another wasted season. There's still plenty of time. They're like 4 points out of the playoffs right now.
What? That's not true.
No, but
No, but I mean, it'd be fun if it was.
are they not? Is it that bad? No, they are. They're 4 points out of the final playoff spot right now. And they have a game in
How
hand.
many teams in between, though?
That's what I'm saying. They're still so early.
It doesn't seem early. Like, Ross, I feel like we've aged in these 10 games. Like, this feels like it's been a eternity. And it's only November 4th.
I know. I thought
we have so much more November to go.
I know. I thought about that the other while I was writing the title for the postcast. I was like, it's November 4th, period. Was almost the title. I was like, it's only the 4th. They still have, you said it, Pilsy. They had to go, 3-1-1 in the 5-game segment before Sweden? Well, they're 0-2-0 in that 5-game segment so far with 3 games left.
Yeah.
The way that Senators fans, I have a very good friend who's very deep in the heart of enemy territory in downtown Toronto. And he says the way Leafs fans feel every April is how Sens fans feel in November. And that's very deep. That's very deep. Those are my final thoughts. Pilsy, do you got anything else?
Final thoughts for me are shout out to all the real ones in the postcast right now.
Amazing. Amazing.
I don't know what I would do without you guys here to vent to, because I feel like I'm going absolutely insane covering this team. And I'm just glad that there's over 300 other people that feel the same, that can vent with us here, because these are like therapy sessions here for Ross and I, because we got to sit down every day and we got to say, how are we gonna spice things up for the Sens? How are we gonna keep the morale up, covering this team on a daily basis? Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. How are we gonna do it? And it becomes harder and harder to do. But you guys, the real ones, you guys make it easy. So shout out to you guys. We love all you guys.
We love you guys so much. As our guy Joe Bell says, we are all insane. The postcast is my home, boys, according to Hot Lunch. Sorry about your guy Parker Kelly jumping on the ice there and taking any win out of the Senators' sails. Oh, to be a fly on the wall of Michael Andlauer and Steve Staios' conversations after this game and heading into tomorrow. Let's put it this way. The Senators, they might be losers, but gosh darn, are they an interesting group of losers that are finding new ways to lose games, but make headlines at the same time.
That's the thing. I mean, if there's one thing you can give to this organization is they always keep it interesting. Ross and I have learned that over the years. I think we might have covered more off ice things than we have on ice. So it's wild. And just for the people, because you guys love the chicken chat, I will tweet out a picture of me and the chickens to keep the morale high here. I'll do whatever it takes to try to turn this thing around.
We Windsor Sens guy asking, what about Martian's unknown streets news? We discussed at the start of the postcast after dark. If you miss any of it, you can always go back and find it on our YouTube page or wherever you find podcasts. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chats. And if something were to happen during the day tomorrow, I'll have you covered with that. Pilsy's got to enjoy some Bengals Bills football. We'll be back on Monday with another week of Locked On Senators action. Meth was active in our group chat tonight. He said, I got some thoughts to get off my chest. So he'll be back next week.
Nice.
We will hopefully have Megan Chayka in one of the next couple weeks, and any other guests that you want to hear on Locked On Senators. Matt Nickel was interacting with us on Sen Central. So it'd be great to get the director of health and performance of the Ottawa Senators, because if he could help my health watching this team, that would increase some performance as well. But no, all jokes aside, we will get to all that. We'll discuss DJ after reading or listening to his thoughts on this. Lots coming up next week on Locked On Senators. We're also going to get back to our Sen Central Citizen segment that we love so much. That's all coming next week. We appreciate each and every one of you in the postcast. Next up, it's a battle of Ontario. So sharpen your swords. It's going to be a big week in Sensland. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Enjoy your Sundays, everyone. Thank you for making the postcast a part of your Sens game routine. We'll be back Wednesday night, but of course you'll hear us well before then with the Locked On Senators podcast. The postcast is brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. Tasty drinks, great food, all at 779 Bank Street. Use the Sens shuttle to get to and from the game. for just $17. Sens lose 6-4 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll talk to you on Monday on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.